So I was really interested this week to read an article in the Washington Post with the title, How to Sell a Haunted House. I know from films that in the US there is also a tradition around the belief in ghosts. I've linked this article from the Washington Post so that you can read it too. And it talks about the challenge of selling expensive properties in Los Angeles, where something bad is known to have happened, or there is a suggestion that the place is haunted. And apparently this is a known problem for estate agents or realtors who sell houses. Not necessarily where something bad is known to have happened, but some houses just feel spooky. And buyers often sense this. Different buyers, it's consistent. It's a problem with some houses and not others. People going into that house have a similar experience. It's uncomfortable and they don't want to buy the house. What I hadn't realised was apparently that real estate agents in the US, realtors, can find this a challenge. And the Washington Post article talks about how they have to make special efforts to stage certain houses that won't sell because of a bad feeling, a negative vibe. They even employ clearers, people who perform actions, rituals to clear out the bad energy, the negative energy. One commenter in this article talks about a basement that no one wanted to go into, even the household's cats. They refused to go down there too. It's not a proof, but it's interesting when different people have the same reaction to a particular room or a particular house. And there's a short series which is showing on UK TV at the moment called Uncanny by someone called Danny Robbins. Apparently, Danny Robbins did a radio podcast, is still doing a radio podcast on ghosts and ghost stories in the UK, which are supplied by his listeners. Danny Robbins says he didn't believe in ghosts or any of this, but now he's heard so many ghost stories from his podcast audience that he's not sure. And like me, he finds it extremely interesting. In the first episode of this short series, he interviews someone who experienced a ghost repeatedly in the house where she grew up. This ghost had a name. She was called Miss Howard. The person speaking didn't know how she knew this. She just did. When Danny Robbins investigated, other people got in touch, adults who'd lived in this house as a child at a different time and who had also experienced the presence of Miss Howard. She was part of their childhood too. Danny Robbins then sets about trying to investigate who the real Miss Howard might have been and when she lived, with some success. And right at the end of the episode, I'll not spoil it for you in case you get to watch it, there's a piece of evidence that is really compelling, which really makes the story much more believable and convincing, and which no one in this investigation knew until that point. It really is an entertaining series, and I hope an entertaining subject for the podcast today too. So do you have any stories or local traditions about ghosts and ghost stories or haunted houses where you're from? I'd love to know. I've no idea whether this is just a British and American phenomenon or whether it's something that's talked about and experienced the world over. You let us know. Don't forget to listen to this podcast a number of times until you understand all of the words. I focused a little on what I think may be new vocabulary for you, so hopefully that's helpful as well. Enough for now. Have a lovely day. Speak to you again soon. Goodbye.